Okay, have you got me? We are good to go. Okay, welcome to Sacred You Mastermind, How to Control Overwhelm. Overwhelm is a thing. It's a real thing. It's not just a mind thing or a stress disorder thing or an anxiety disorder thing. It's a real thing. And we're going to be talking about that today. You're going to leave with some new knowledge, understanding, and a few new tools. And that's a word, somatics, somatic tools. So you're going to learn a few of those as well. And we're going to be going deep into what overwhelm actually is, how it manifests in your body, is reacted to by your mind, informs your personality and creates who you are, and how you get control over it, if you choose to. So we're going to continue on now. This mastermind is the second in 15 over the next few weeks. And here at Sacred You, we are a community of teachers and seekers and spiritual people and creatives and healers, and you name it, we've got them. And they are beautiful, beautiful souls who bring their best game, their huge repertoire of knowledge. And we are really excited to be sharing all of that with you when you join sacredyou.love. So all those links are going to be available as we go through they'll be available in the chat. That's where you're going to find them. So before we get into who I am, and I haven't even introduced myself, how rude of me not to introduce myself. But before we get into who I am and why you should listen to me, maybe you should hear that there are 3 powerful ways, because that's what you're here for, is to hear the ways that you can control overwhelm in your own life. There are lots more out there, especially for highly sensitive empaths, to stop their overwhelm. So I'm going to tell you what those 3 are right now, and they are the 3 most important. The first is understanding how your brain recognizes what's going on in your environment, near, right close up to you, and far away, thousands of miles away sometimes. How your brain lets you know about really solid events, the physical things you see around you, and also people's thoughts when they don't even speak them, but they are so intense that you feel them in your body with a knowing that you simply can't ignore. The first is understanding how your brain recognizes what's going on in your environment. The second is learning to program that amazing computer brain of yours, the one that you were born with, so you control how you recognize how your brain actually alerts you to danger, real danger. The third is giving yourself permission to do the work. And it's not really work. It turns into joy when you learn how to control what has become overwhelm in your life and taken over your life. It's a joyful thing to take back your power. So you have to give yourself permission to recognize what's going on with your brain and then learn the tools that take it away and give you back calm and healing. So now that I've given you that little bit of information, now I can tell you who I am. I'm Sue Rumack. I'm an overwhelmed strategist and an empath life coach specializing in overwhelmed empaths and HSPs. I've been a life coach, a professional life coach for 16 years. I'm the author of Angelic Healing Messages Channeled for Mankind. And I also create very, very down-to-earth manuals, e-manuals on empath identity, divorce identity, raising empath kids, the inner critic, getting successful in your own life, all of that. And I'm also an energy worker, a healer, a prophetic dreamer, and a soul guardian secretary. I have my own little circle of angelic guardians who ask me to write down their stuff, their good stuff, their amazing stuff, and make it available to people. And I've been doing that for way more than 16 years. So that is who I am. And maybe that gives you some reasons why you'd actually like to listen to me for the next little while. Today, I am the mastermind storyteller. And in my storytelling, I'm going to be sharing how to control your overwhelm. And you're here on this mastermind, and it's all about controlling overwhelm. And how perfect is that? That at this particular moment in the world is really spinning. with all kinds of different overwhelms. Not only do we have the astrological, which is all kinds of planets, especially Mars in retrograde. We've got lunar eclipses happening this weekend. We've got solar flares. We've got war, real hardcore stuff. We've got wars popping up all over the world. We've got inflation. We've got illness. We've got uncertainty. And we haven't even talked about your life yet. So I'm going to ask you just to pay attention to everything I just said. What did you feel in your body as I read off that list? What did you feel in your gut? What did you feel in your heart? What did you feel in your throat? What did you feel buzzing between your ears? If you'd like to add that to the chat, you're more than welcome. Just put in what it was that you felt in your body as I read off. I'm going to read it one more time and just go back to your body and notice what you're feeling. And then I'm going to take that feeling away. I'm going to show you how to get rid of it. That's going to be the first tool that you learn on this mastermind. So we are in an overwhelmed world right now, people. Planets are in retrograde, affecting all of our emotions, solar flares and their effects, lunar eclipses, the new moon at the same time. There are wars popping up all over the place. There's inflation, there's unemployment, there's uncertainty, and we haven't even gotten into your life yet. That's all outside stuff that other people are reacting to. What do you feel in your body? Please go to the chat right now and just one word, 2 words. Is it in your gut, in your heart, in your throat, in your head? Is it in your shoulders? I'm going to keep on talking as people make those comments. So if you were just triggered by that nasty gut, head, body anxiety sensation, it's really important to notice that even simple words spoken by people that you don't know can be enough to trigger overwhelm. And if a simple verbal list is enough to trigger you, then you're really in the right place with this mastermind. So just hold on, and we are going to do that right now. Okay, so that's why we're here. I'm going to show you how to calm that so easily triggered anxiety feeling that I, a coach, just triggered in your body. So let's go to, if you stay even 15 minutes, just 15 minutes from now, you're going to have one tool that is going to help you to take back overwhelm. Just one tool. So take just 15 minutes. And you're going to feel more calm. You're going to feel as if you're smiling all over your body. And you're going to have a tool that you can continue using for the rest of your life if you remember to use it. Okay, so let's start that right now. I'm going to ask you, first of all, I'm going to explain to you what the tool is. I'm going to explain to you where it comes from, which gives it real credibility. And then I'm going to explain how it works. And then I'm going to take you through it. It'll only take a few minutes. So this is called the 36-minute anxiety release or stress release. It was designed by a brain surgeon. I think he designed it a few years back. It went viral at the time. And he designed it because when he was in surgery, he needed to be calm, not stressed. If he got stressed or anxious, he'd breathe harder. And because he's wearing the mask, we all know now what that's like. If you breathe in a mask and you're wearing glasses, guess what happens? They get fogged up. Well, he's wearing those magnifying glasses, right? So he can be really deep in somebody's brain. He's a brain surgeon. Now, brain surgeons know all about the brain, and they know what kind of chemistry is triggered by what kind of emotion, right? Or what kind of breathing technique or whatever it is that triggers certain types of stress. And he knew that if he wanted to calm himself in a stressful situation, all he had to do was change his breathing. Just change his breathing. And that's somatics, another lovely new word. So he knew that if he breathed in for 3 seconds, just 3 seconds, a short breath, shallow breath in for 3 seconds, don't do it yet. And then held that breath on a pause for 3 seconds and breathed out for 3 seconds, held that for pause for 3, and then repeated that 3 times in a row, that he would calm his heart rate change up the oxygen flow in his body, and his body would trigger dopamine and evaporate the adrenaline that was coursing through his body. He needed dopamine in order to calm his stress and his anxiety. So he started doing this in the ER, in the surgery. And he found that he didn't have to have his glasses removed as often. He didn't lose time in somebody's brain, and he was more effective and more efficient. And he was less stressed. So I've explained what we're going to do. You're going to take us, and don't do it yet. You're going to take a breath in for 3 seconds. I'm going to count it. You're going to hold for 3. You're going to release for 3. And you're going to hold for 3. And we're going to repeat it. And I'm going to walk you through it as we do that. Everybody ready? Now, this is not a meditation and it's not a trance. It's an exercise. That's all it is. There's nothing magical about it. It's medical. It's brain science. So everybody just sit back in your seats, relax, close your eyes, feel yourself go into your heart space. Now, the surgeon is not going to do that, but you can. Now, just close your eyes. I'm going to close mine, so I'm not looking at you guys either. Feel yourself go into your heart space. Feel that heart space just expand a little bit and then expand a little more, just giving you some extra space. Now, breathe normally. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. And then in the next breath in, you're going to breathe in, 1, 2, 3. Pause, 2, 3. Breathe out, 2, 3. And pause, 2, 3. Breathe in, calm, 2, 3. Hold in calm, 2, 3. Breathe out, calm, 2, 3. Last rotation. Breathe in, calm, 2, 3. Pause, 2, 3. And breathe out, 2, 3. And relax and breathe normally. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. What happened? What happened in your body as you just breathed in just for 3 seconds, held for 3 and breathed out for 3? You were breathing for a total of 36 seconds, but didn't it feel like almost a lifetime? Did you feel your body chemistry just changing? Whatever had been there before when I read off that list, is it still there? Victoria says, no, it's not. She's more at peace. Okay. And that's the whole point. It's a 36-second exercise. You don't have to close your eyes. You can be in the middle of a meeting. You can be in the middle of an argument. You can be driving your car. You're not in a trance. You're not in mindfulness. You're simply doing an exercise to switch up your body chemistry from adrenaline to dopamine. And dopamine is the feel-good drug that is then basically flooding your entire body right out to your nerve endings in your fingertips, to the follicles in your hair. Your whole body is now relaxing into the dopamine, which gives you space to deal with whatever else is going on around you. So that's the very first tool that I am giving you. It's something I teach all of my clients, all of my empath training, brain retraining students. I teach this to everybody, and everybody goes out and teaches it to everybody they know. So please take it out to the world and let's get everybody calming that overwhelm. Okay. Anybody else will have a comment they would like to put into the chat? Go ahead and do that. And Victoria, thank you so much. I love that you stepped right up and made a comment. So next, I'm just going to find my place in my notes. I've got lots and lots of notes here, folks. Let's get a little bit clinical. about where overwhelm actually comes from. Not from the therapy side of things, but from the energetic, the vibrational frequencies that are triggered when we are shifting into overwhelm. Okay. We're going to talk about why it grabs you and why it sticks to you specifically more than perhaps other people that you know. So the first thing you need to know is that energetically, overwhelm is a response that your survival brain, limbic brain, primitive brain, lizard brain, whatever you want to call it, it's a little tiny thing, two sides of it. They're the size of walnuts, and they are in the center of your brain, right down in the middle, where they're protected by both sides of spongy gray matter to protect them so they don't get rattled. One side reacts on the logical side, one side reacts on the creative side. So you're going to get two different aspects of what this limbic brain interprets about the vibrational energy that you're actually picking up from around you. Okay, lots of people say that law of attraction brings stuff to you, good stuff, bad stuff, all kinds of stuff. It brings you bad luck. It might have something to do with depressed personalities. And overwhelm has nothing to do with any of that stuff. Well, it might have something to do with chronically depressed people who are more that way than in a happier state of mind for various reasons. But I'm not a therapist, so I'm not going to go there. I'm only going to talk about the brain science of it. Did you know, now this is a really cool fact, okay? Did you know that empaths, or otherwise known as highly sensitive people, HSPs, your brains are built differently than 70% of the rest of the population? We are a special group, 30% of the population, and our brains have one tiny, tiny, tiny microscopic little difference that makes us super sensitized to everything that's going on around us, close up, right in our faces, and thousands of miles away. That is a DNA anomaly. It's a single little strand of DNA that's located in only one area of your entire body. And that one little DNA strand is super sensitized to pick up on other people's stuff. It's super sensitized to pick up on what you see in social media and on the news, what you see on the streets, what you pick up energetically from people's thoughts that they don't even talk about, but you know it's happening because that one little DNA strand picks up on the vibrational frequency, waveforms that people broadcast without even realizing that they're doing it. Unless, of course, they're doing it on purpose, and they could do that too. Narcissists do that all the time. Psychopaths do that all the time, but we're not talking about them right now. We're just talking about how that one little DNA strand in a whole bundle of other DNA strands is enough to take control of your entire overwhelm capacity in your life. So let's talk about that for a minute. This part of your brain is really big. We're talking science now. Here, this part of your brain is really big. It takes up about that much space. It's called the frontal cortex. And in that nice chunky bit of your brain, you got thousands and thousands and thousands, maybe even millions of these tiny little microscopic bundles of DNA strands. Now, for everybody else in the world, the 70%, they also pick up on what's going on around them because it has to do with fight, flight, survival, brain reactivity, warning you about danger in your environment. So everybody has these little DNA bundles. They're called mirror neuron bundles, and they're on the lookout for stuff that could be dangerous or stuff that could be amazing and wonderful and loving and happy. They're on the lookout for anything that stimulates you. That could be the five senses: sight, sound, taste, hearing, and touch. Anything you react with through the five senses. It could be anything like action movies or bright lights. It could be really loud noises. It could be a combination of all those. It could be a story that somebody is reading. Just like I read that list, this frontal cortex is picking up on the vibration that is being sent out over distances by other people. Now, all those DNA bundles, for empaths, every one of those bundles has one extra little strand. Now that strand, when it gets super excited with what's going on around it, it starts to, I saw that, Sophia, it starts to vibrate really, 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 really fast. And all of the other DNA strands in his bundle start to vibrate at the same rate, okay? Now that whole little bundle starts to go nutso crazy, and it's contagious. It gets all the other little bundles nutso crazy, and they all start vibrating like crazy insane. And what ends up happening is you can walk into a room, any room, happy, controlled, feeling really good. And that frontal cortex, that one little DNA strand, picks up something from somebody in that group that gets it really nervous. And you can go from calm and happy and in control to 3 minutes later being in a panic attack and having to literally run out of the room. That's how panic attacks actually start, is because of that one DNA strand in those bundles. Empaths and highly sensitive people, HSPs, are only 30% of the population. And we all have that extra DNA strand. So recognizing that panic attack that you can't explain is now explainable. It's not yours. You picked up on something in that room that you can't explain. Your body reacted. Your brain actually reacted first. The amygdala, that little thing in those two little walnuts I told you about. So stimuli comes from here to here. Here triggers here, which then goes to your brainstem and triggers all kinds of chemistry that gets sent all over your body. When you go into a panic attack, you're being flooded with adrenaline and cortisol. And that's what causes the reaction. If you can stop yourself at the very beginning of that feeling in your chest or your gut or your throat or your eyes start to, but if you can recognize that your body is sending you an alert that something is going on in your environment, and you can try that through that 36-second breathing exercise, you might just get control of that overwhelm attack before it takes over. That's a tool. So now you understand why it is that your brain reacts the way that it does when you're in the energetic space of a lot of emotional stimuli. And it all comes at you as electrical waves. I'm going to explain that with another exercise in a few minutes. So this is all part of storytelling about overwhelm. Joyita, thank you so much. She says, glad I decided to attend. This is so enriching. Oh, and I'm wonderful. Thank you, Joyita. I think you're wonderful too. Okay, so what's different? Well, we talked about that difference being what is different about the highly sensitive person, the empath who overreacts and moves into overwhelm almost chronically and is seen by people as being weak, too sensitive, out of control, constantly in chronic anxiety. And the thing is that when we begin on a pattern, on a roll down that slippery slope of chronic anxiety, it's really hard to believe that it's not us, that it's not me that's defective, that it isn't coming from someplace else, because I feel it so strongly in my body that how can it not be me? Well, I'm here to tell you that 90% of the time, it's not you. You are like a cell phone tower that we're going to do an exercise with in a few minutes that's actually picking up on other people's broadcasts, electrical frequencies. You're running it through your brain, which actually puts meaning to it, because there's a library in your amygdala that documents everything that happens in your life, good, bad, and different. And then it runs this vibration through that library and goes, oh, it matches up with this. Okay, that's what it is. But sometimes your amygdala is not right. It's picking up on something that is similar. It's a lookalike, but not always dangerous to you. So that's where reprogramming your responses, your brain responses comes in. And that's something that I teach. It's what I specialize in, is recognizing those triggers, those body sensations, gut, heart, throat, eyes, brain fog, freeze, and recognizing them for what they are. They're actually alerts that your brain is setting to your body to say, there may be a problem here, or there definitely is a problem here, or it's like, kind of a problem, but you're so used to these responses that they get out of hand, and you fall into the response without recognizing that it's only an alert. That when you learn how to turn down, now you've got space to react in reality instead of old history and old patterns. We're going to talk about that too. I don't want to get too off topic because I actually have this thing planned out, but I tend to wander a little bit when I start to explain things to people. All right, so what's different? We've already identified that overwhelm isn't necessarily strictly an emotional response, a therapy type emotional response. We've identified that for 30% of the population, if you're highly sensitive to other people's stuff, you have one extra DNA strand that shows up in close to probably 1 million tiny little mirror neuron bundles in the frontal cortex of your brain. If there are 1 million little DNA strands, can you imagine how powerful that response is going to be when they get triggered? Just imagine you're watching a movie, you're listening to the news on the radio as you're driving, you're watching a video, which is always wildly active with lights and noise and movement and jumping around and stuff like that. Your child is pouting in the back seat because they've had a day, and they might be a teenager. They've had a day and they're broadcasting their intensity, and it is washing over you. DNA, 1 million little DNA strands, just one each per bundle. And they can totally take over your life unless you know how to reprogram what your survival brain recognizes and learn to turn down the responses so you have space. Let's keep going. That DNA strand is the only difference that makes you more reactive than other people. Okay, we could go into your trauma, your life's trauma. We could go into your PTSD. Why can't I say that today? PTSD triggers that are very real because those things really happen to you. But there's a way of retiring them, rewriting them, reprogramming your responses to them so that you don't have to hide out any longer. So let's keep going, okay? So we know that there's a difference. We know why there's a difference, and we know that that difference is brain science, and it's also quantum energy science. Now, that's a new one. We haven't really talked about quantum energy science yet, but we're going to get there. So let's start with the easy stuff. We talked about the DNA bundles. We talked about the one special little DNA strand. And I'm going to ask you, now that you know that, is it all that you see and hear that triggers your anxiety? Or is it something else? Is it what you see or hear, or that touches you physically, that triggers your anxiety? That's a yes or a no. If you want to put any comments as I'm talking, just whatever comes up in your mind, I'd love to see those in the chat. That would be so exciting. So we talked about, is it something else that triggers your anxiety, your overwhelm? Well, number one, there's a felt sense. Now, a lot of people talk about felt sense. Actually, it's becoming the new buzzword for almost everything from menus to food menus in restaurants, to yoga practices, to foods you buy in the store, somatic foods. And it's all about felt sense. Somatics talk about body sense, what your body picks up on, reads, and then feels as sensation rather than thought. And the sensation always comes up before the thought does, because it's a primitive reaction that we have to our environment that was designed originally for our prehistoric ancestors to keep them alive in a very harsh and dangerous environment. Our primitive brain, which is called the survival brain, or the lizard brain, or the limbic brain, is that primitive ancestral brain. It's comprised of a thing called the amygdala, which is those two little walnut. Oh, I just like I have rabbit ears. Two little walnut-shaped glands, I guess you'd call them, or structures in your brain that are connected to 5 other pieces that make up the hypothalamus and the hippocampus and the insulata, but you don't need to know all those names. Those names are not important. All you need to know is that there is a whole system that's involved that creates the reactions that you have in your body. And those systems, those actual structures are tiny, like one is the size of a peanut. The others are the size of 2 walnuts. The others they're just tiny, 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 but they control your life, your reactions, your joy, your comfort level in the world. So the something else is number 1, the felt sense, somatics, and that begins in your survival brain. What you feel is often memory triggered. Okay, something that happened in your past that created a behavioral pattern that you can't get out of, but you can. And that memory triggering is happening in the 2 little walnut-shaped things, the amygdala. The chemistry flooding your body, that's coming from the hypothalamus and the hippocampus and the insula. And then what happens is once all that stuff starts cascading through your body, through your nervous system, polyvagal nervous system, that goes along with somatics, new words for new science. When all that chemistry floods your body begins to recognize what's going on and sending messages back through the nervous system, back up through the nervous system, back to your brain. And that actually makes meaning of what you've been feeling chemically in your body. Is this making sense? Or is it too all over the place for you? Oh, Victoria says, yes, it's making sense. Okay. So what ends up happening is that when you have a fear reaction, chemistry floods through your body. It's almost instantaneous. It happens so fast that stuff goes from here to here to here. It happens within a fraction of seconds because that's how fast your brain works. It's a computer working through computer apps. And it's up to you to learn how to reprogram those apps. And that's what I teach. So when all the chemistry floods and then the meaning goes back up, your body's reacting, it comes up as fear, anxiety, stress, brain fog, freeze, illness, panic attacks, fainting, all kinds of different things. Trina says that was great. So thank you, Trina. Sometimes I get lost in my own science and I get so excited about it. I don't know if I've taken everybody with me or lost them. Okay, so we talked about the felt sense. We've talked about your memory being triggered. We talked about chemistry flooding your body and then your body sending messages back up to your brain that makes sense to your brain that goes, oh yeah, that's what we're in. We're in excitement. We're in happiness. We're in joy. We're in anxiety. We're in fear. We're in panic. We're in shutdown. So all of those things get triggered by the chemistry and then the responses back up through your body. So we've talked about visualizing your frontal cortex. You know what that looks like here. We talked about survival brain being in the center of your head. And we talked about how things go from here to here to here to here and back up to there. That's how anxiety and chronic overwhelm actually manifest and work their way through your body and back up to your brain, creating overwhelm. And it can happen like that fast, because our bodies are computers. You turn something on and it turns on instantly and it just goes everywhere. So are you guys ready for another exercise? It's one that I do with all of my students, all my empath trainees. And I love this one because this one is a visualization. Again, it's not a trance. It's not any kind of a deep thing that you're going to have to, you can get out of it at any time. You can make comments in the middle of it. And it can last as long as you want it to last. And once I teach this to you, you can actually use this in your everyday life. So are you ready? Are you ready, folks? I know I'm ready. Yes, Victoria says she's ready. Oh, Victoria, I just love that you keep commenting. Thank you so much. Okay, so it's a cell tower exercise. Does everybody here know what a cell tower looks like? We all know what a cell tower looks like. It's a thing that goes up and it's got these bulbousy things on the top. And sometimes it has a wider base, right? And they can be pretty tall. You know that you can put them anywhere. You can put them on the side of the building, on the top of the building, you can put them in a field, you can put them, you can put them anywhere they'll fit, okay? And what do they do? What do cell towers do? cell phone towers, they broadcast signals, electrical frequency waves of information out to technology, like to your cell phone or to your internet or to your computer or to wherever. So we know that a cell phone tower broadcasts information and also gathers information in, reads information. So I'd like you to think of yourself. First of all, don't think of yourself there yet. I want you to visualize someplace you feel really safe, somewhere to put a cell phone tower. Is it going to be in a field? Is it a meadow? Is it a garden? Is it on the seaside, on the shore? Where is this place going to be? Is it in the woods? But give it enough space that you can add other cell phone towers. So take a moment now. You don't have to close your eyes. You don't have to meditate. Just visualize a field or some place where you're going to put down a cell phone tower. I'm a cell phone tower right now. Here I am. Okay, you've got your space, right? Now, I want you to visualize yourself as a single cell phone tower. You don't have a face, you're just a structure that broadcasts out vibrational waves that are filled with information. Visualize yourself as a single cell phone tower somewhere in that space that you've created for the tower. Can you see yourself there? Where are you in the field? Are you dominating it? Are you in the middle? Are you up in one corner, down in another corner? Are you off on the sidelines? Where are you in that field? You're pretty safe there. Where are you in that field? Now we're talking about overwhelm, but I'm not going to take you to overwhelm. I'm going to take you to a happy place. I want you to think about a situation where you felt happy and safe and comfortable and communicating and loved, giving and receiving. Remember that time. Just feel that time in your body. Feel that time in your cell tower. Feel the vibrations building for that happy time in your cell tower. When it has completely filled all the interior space of your cell phone tower, start to think of it as broadcasting out as happy waves, little ripples, happy little waves, however they look to you. They're just broadcasting out from the center of the tower in a circular pattern, and they just go forever. How do you feel when you feel those happy vibrations in your body and you know that unconsciously, without even trying, you're broadcasting them out to everybody else? Think about that for a moment. Now, think about somebody or the other people who were there with you in that memory. Were there people? They had to be people that you liked or loved because it's a happy memory. Think about those people. When you've got in your mind who they are, place them in that field as additional cell towers, not as people, but as additional cell phone towers. Place them anywhere you like around you that feels right. Don't have them do anything yet. Just put them in the field. Where are they around you? Are they close up? Are they off in corners? Are they huddled around each other and you're someplace else in the field? Where are all these people that are in that happy, happy memory? And they are happy people. Maybe they're not all happy people, but who are the people in that memory? Cell phone towers now, filling up with their energy of that moment and broadcasting that out as their kind of ripple, whatever that looks like. So you're going to begin to see that as those cell phone towers erupt with other people's vibrational energy, that some of it is going to be choppy, some of it's going to be really smooth, some of it's going to be happy dancy, and it's all filling up the space that you've created for it. Now, notice how other people's vibrations go through each other and impact each other. You might not see what they do, but you notice they do go through each other's towers. They connect. And now they're also going through your tower. So as you feel the energy waves that those towers are broadcasting towards you, notice what happens as their waves, whatever they look like, begin to pass through your tower. What happens in your body? What do you feel now as a person? And where do you feel it in your body? Are you feeling it as a happy butterfly feeling in your head? Are you feeling butterflies in your chest? Is your gut filling up with all happy stuff? Or is there a combination of butterflies happy and maybe a little bit of something else? Just notice what all those other cell phone towers are broadcasting and how they affect you. And remember, this is a happy memory that we're working with. Okay. I don't like to leave anybody in uncomfortable places. So if anybody is in an uncomfortable place, please put in the chat that, yes, you are in an uncomfortable place, and we need to get rid of that before we move on. How is everybody doing? If I don't get any answers, I'm assuming everybody's in a good place. Oh, I got a thumbs up from Trina. Okay. Okay, no answers. I'm just going to hold on a second. I just need to pull my chat down and see if there's anything that I'm missing. No, I'm not missing anything. I'm so excited. Yes, I see Clara. Hi, Clara. Welcome. You're not good yet, but you only came in the middle of that conversation. So I can't begin at the beginning for you, but we can catch up on that on Messenger if we need to, okay? All right, great. Okay, so let's continue on. What you just felt was what we feel every day as people walking in the world, in our homes, at work, in the stores, driving down the street. So it's easier for us to now get a sense of how that quantum energy works in people's bodies, right? And how the brain interprets it into a body sense feeling. We've connected the two pieces. We've got that quantum energy wave patterns, and now we've connected that to how your brain picks up on that and then sends the messages throughout your body, and your body responds back with meaning. Does that make sense to everybody so far? Okay. So what I think it's really important to understand is that when you know what these thought patterns look like as a wave pattern, electricity, where it hits you in your body. Now, it doesn't hit you in the same place every time. Each emotion that other people feel will hit you in different places in your body. So hostility might hit you in your solar plexus. I've had clients where it hits them between the shoulder blades in the back, or it hits them as an arrow in their forehead. So it all depends on where you feel those waves of energy hitting your body and how you interpret them. What do they mean? So that you can then create what's called a return to sender wave pattern message that you send out that calms them down. The whole point is, when we try to control our overwhelm, it isn't our overwhelm that we need to control. It's everybody else's. Because when they stop sending those arrows and zigzaggies and violent wave patterns, tsunamis of energy towards us, when they stop doing that, we feel better. We've got control of what's coming in. Oh, take a look what I'm doing here. Notice how I'm putting my hands out here. This is your energetic neural network. This is actually connected to your amygdala, which is in the center of your brain, and is read by your frontal cortex, those little DNA strands that get all hyperactive. And whatever comes up against your neural network, electrical force field, is remotely sent back to here, which goes to here, which floods your whole body, which sends information back. And then you go, oh my God, I'm overwhelmed. Or, oh my God, I feel so amazing. Make sense so far? Hope so. Oh, everybody's nodding. Okay, great. All right. So basically, what you need to understand is how quantum energy actually works. Everybody goes, oh my God, it's just electrical waves, it's thought patterns, it's blah, 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 blah. It's not. There are only 3 identified quantum wave patterns that science has discovered so far. There may be more, but at the moment, and for many, many, many decades, they've only recognized 3. The first is called bounce. A bounce waveform is hostility. It's controlling, it's damaging, it's hurtful. Anything that is a violent thought is going to slam up against, here you've got your force field, it's going to slam up against your force field, right? Now, if your force field has been programmed properly by your amygdala, your limbic brain system, it's going to basically not let through the dangerous energy that is now going to slide through it, go through this space, which I call your comfort zone, and hit into your heart first, and then get into your body, then get into your brain. If your force field is properly programmed by your amygdala, it's going to recognize that thought pattern as a vibrational pattern that is recognizable and repeatable. So it's nothing new, it's identifiable. And it's going to basically stop it there. And you are going to program into your brain a specific message that goes something like this. I see you, great compassion, no judgment. I hear you, great compassion, no judgment. You don't have to say those words, but that's the feeling of the I see you and the feeling of the I hear you. And what bounces up against here, that's that bounce, hostility, undeliverable, which means that your neural network is basically closing its permeability and not allowing that energy to get through. At the same time that it stopped it here, it sent a message to your body saying, danger is at the door. I've stopped it, but it's there. And you need to know about it. That's the body sensation that grabs you in your throat, in your solar plexus, in the middle of your back, in your gut, that tells you it's an alert system. It's like an early alert warning system that NORAD puts up for missiles. That's exactly it. That's exactly what other people's energies are. They are like missiles. And your neural network is like NORAD, watching for a missile and then deflecting it, either destroying it, but we don't destroy them. And there's a reason we don't destroy them. There's a reason why we don't send it back with hostility. We send it back with calm, compassion, and no judgment on a very, very, very slow energetic wave that we create ourselves. The last part of that message I told you was undeliverable. There's a reason for that, because when you send back an energetic response to this, that energetic response starts here, broadcasts out through there, goes out through your neural network, your neural force field, gathers up all that bad energy, basically neutralizes it, because its waveform is neutralizing to the bounce energy. Don't ask me how that works. I don't know. All I know is it does work. And then sends that wave very slowly, very gently back to whoever was sending you the hostility. You don't need to know who it is. That's the beauty of this thing. You don't need to know where it goes, because you're not directing it. The energy pattern knows its way back to source. You gathered it up. It's going back to its original sender. Now, it goes in so slowly because you've programmed it to be very slow and very gentle, non-judgmental, and compassionate. It goes through their neural network, their force field. It gets into their bodies, into their heart. Their heart sends a message up to the brain because there is a neural connection between the two. They talk to each other. And their heart goes, I've been seen, I've been witnessed, I've been validated, which is what most people only want anyway, is to be witnessed and validated. You sent back witnessing and validating. I see you and I hear you is witnessing and validating, right? And then you said, but this is undeliverable. Now you're setting up boundaries, intellectual boundaries, that basically goes back to their brain, goes, I was witnessed, I was validated, woohoo, I'm doing a little happy dance. They saw me, they heard me. And oh yeah, they don't want me to send it that way anymore. Okay, I'm good with that. Because they got their validation without you having to say a word, without you even having to be in the same country with them. That's how brain retraining really works. You're working with the computer that's in your head, that's got apps all over your body, You're programming the computer that's in your head to pick up on what's out there and then create a return to sender message that keeps you safe and calm. Now that you sent that message, there's no more alarm system going off in your body, because you've told as soon as you've received that alarm in your body, you're going, oh, that was an alarm. That's not me. That's somebody else. How cool is that? That you recognize that's not you, it's somebody else. How freeing, how healing, how whole can you allow yourself to become when that happens? Right? So that's how we return dangerous messages. So we've got that. We are coming up on 1 hour. Oh my goodness. I'm going to keep going if everybody wants me to keep going. Everybody want me to keep going? You don't have to be polite. You can say no if you, oh, Trina says yes. Okay. Victoria also says yes. Okay. Thank you. Okay. I've been given permission. Clara's nodding yes as well. Okay, great. So I've talked about bounce energy, which is hostility of any kind. Any version of hostility is bounce energy. Okay. Very staticky. Okay. If you don't program to keep it out, it's going to get through, and it's painful and it sticks. It's very sticky energy. Okay. And a lot of times it feels like it's trauma that you don't know where it's coming from. You just feel like, oh my God, I'm going into another traumatic response. I don't know what to do about this. It's just so overwhelming. There's that word. And you do your 3 by 3 by 3 breathing, 36 seconds. You got that. You know that's an alert somewhere in your body. You can say, okay, that's just an alert. It's not me. It's somebody else. So the question to ask yourself quite often is it mine? When you feel something like that and you're not sure, you ask your heart, you ask your body. You don't ask your brain. You never ask your brain, because your brain's going to tell you the stories that it's got stored in there from forever. But you ask your body, somatically, your body will come back with a very strong yes or no. It might come back as a thought. It might come back as a release of energy. It might come back as a sigh. But it'll find a way to tell you whether it's yours or not. So we've got bounce hostility. That's the first quantum energy wave that people normally will feel. Okay. Now, the second one is called interference. I kind of like interference because that's the space where people are getting to know each other. So say you've met somebody for the first time, a man or a woman, or, somebody, you've met them for the first time. The first time you see them, you don't feel danger from them specifically. You feel kind of a curiosity about them. You'd like to know a little more, not too much, just a little more, so you can make an informed decision about whether or not you want to let their energy into your energy. So that's interference. It's curiosity. It's where friendship starts. It's where love relationships start. It's where business partnerships start. It's called interference. Things kind of go through each other, pass through each other, leave a bit of signature energy behind, so that you recognize them the next time they show up, either in person or energetically. And you want to either get to know them better or not. So that's the second one. That's interference. And there's a lot of that going on, especially with young people. The older we get, the less interested we seem to be. Put up more barriers against meeting other people with that kind of curiosity. And the last one is entanglement. So we normally, if we're going to get to know this person better, we'll go from that interference part, interception. Is it interception or interference? I'm old. Give me a break here. It could be interception. And so you go from interception or interference, where you are merging briefly to get to know each other's vibrational frequencies. Are they comfortable or not? You're giving permission to do that, letting it through your neural network because you're curious. But if you've also programmed your brain to be on the lookout for red flags and respond by blocking them if those red flags show up. There's entanglement. So entanglement follows the curiosity. And that's where people really, who are getting to know each other, really get entangled in each other's lives because they want to be sometimes because they're forced to be, because of various types of relationships, family relationships, community relationships. You're forced to be entangled with other people energetically. Entanglement can happen in love relationship, with narcissists, with religious leaders, not just the community, political leaders, politicians, relationships in your family and outside your family, friendships and family. So entanglement shows up in so many different ways, and it can be generational as well. So entanglement, you've got bounce, bump, bump, bump. You've got that interception interference where you're curious and maybe you go apart, and then it might turn into an entanglement that stays together. Energetically, you can't separate from those people. Entanglement shows up also if you're a caregiver, a healer, a health worker, because you've allowed other people's energies into your space, into your body, into your mind, and sometimes it's really hard to get them out. That comes with that brain retraining that I've been talking about. So what do you know? Do you have any questions about those three energetic waves? The only three: quantum energy. We've got somatics, which is the body sense. We've got your brain entanglement, your brain connecting with that neural network. That's your natural shielding. You'll hear a lot of spiritual people talk about shielding. You've got to put up shields. You've got to get grounded. You can't get grounded if you don't have good shielding, and that's true. But if they were talking about a spiritual shielding, you're talking about body shielding. If you're talking about energetic shielding, you're talking about protective shielding. That is part of your neural network, your energetic network system that surrounds your body. There are two different types of shielding and two different types of grounding. That's something else I teach, is the difference between the two and how to use them both. Okay. So what do you need to know about overwhelm that you don't know now? Anybody have any questions? What do you need to know about overwhelm that you don't know now? Okay, so unmute yourself, Clara, and ask your question.
There's a question I wanted to ask for the group in a minute, but the one I have actually now is, how do you break an entanglement that is no longer beneficial to you or that's just harming you? Because, say, for instance, I was telling you about my situation when we spoke earlier, with my client, with my old client and her mother, who's a narcissist. I still feel myself going back to them a lot. So I kind of feel like they still have an impact on me, even though I don't really have any contact with them. And I don't feel like that's completely broken. How do you break an entanglement that you've made?
That's a very, very, very good question, because just about everybody has those entanglements of one kind or another. So number one, recognize that part of that entanglement is an old behavior pattern that got implanted when you were working with them or living with them or growing up with them. So you have to recognize it's an old pattern, and you have to ask yourself, does that pattern serve me any longer? That's a yes or no question that you basically tell your survival brain, that no longer serves me. You're creating the partnership with your limbic brain system where you're going to reprogram it. The limbic brain system is sentient. People think of it as being just a body part, but it's actually sentient. It is a thinking part. It is a communicating part, and it communicates as body sensation through your body as one way of, as primitive, of alerting you and warning you. But that part also triggers thought patterns that come up as thoughts in your mind that translate into words that you might actually understand. So to actually break that entanglement, number one, you have to recognize that the entanglement is there. You did that. You have to recognize that there is a behavior pattern, an old behavior pattern that needs to be rewritten. The only way that we rewrite an old behavior pattern is by doing something different. Now, the third piece of this, excuse me, is actually energetic reprogramming. Just one second. I think I need a little bit of water.
Okay. See, I find that they're even both of their energies, for some reason, they're still coming through even in my dreams. I have not seen them in almost 4 months. And like, I wake up a lot knowing that I spent a good deal of the night dreaming about them.
Thank you for saying that, because I couldn't have put that better. Because when they are thinking about you, you receive those thought vibrations as messages.
What if I want the narcissist to forget about me? Because I think that that's what it is. I need that narcissist to forget about me.
That's where we reprogram this neural network that's arm's length outside of our bodies to recognize that particular energy and say, this does not get through. It's a message that goes from here to here to here.
Okay.
And basically it's an electrical reprogramming. And I teach you how to do that. It's basically, it's that thought wave that I was explaining to you earlier, and I was explaining just a few minutes ago, where you actually create a new wave. You create a new wave that says narcissists of any kind. Doesn't have to be that one person. You have more than one narcissist in your life. We all do.
Right.
Right? So all narcissists are painted with the same brush. They all send a similar vibrational pattern. There aren't a million different vibrational patterns. Narcissists, when they're trying to control somebody, have a specific pattern. It's a wave pattern. And your neural network recognizes that from whoever sends it. As soon as they recognize that, then it's blocked right out there. And a message is automatically, once you create that message, which is, I see you, I hear you, undeliverable. And it's more than me just saying, I see you, I hear you, undeliverable. I see you, I hear you, undeliverable. It's going to be my mantra. Yeah, it's an affirmation. It's not. It's actual work that you sit down to do, and you feel it in your body. You create the energetic pattern that you want to go back to them. And it's created as a very gentle wave pattern, like a ripple on the ocean. And then you basically integrate your thoughts of I see you, but it has to be done with complete release and absolutely no investment on your part at all of hostility or judgment or lack of compassion or anything. It has to be done with great compassion and no judgment. And
Right.
the I see you is the witnessing. All this person wants, all that a narcissist wants, is to be witnessed. They want somebody to say, yeah, I see you, you got through, except you see them, but they didn't get through. So I see you is a huge part of creating a new wave pattern to block out a narcissist. I hear you, which means I see everything you don't want me to see. I see everything you do want me to see. I see everything that's broken about you. And I see it all with great compassion. I'm so sorry that you're broken. And no judgment, none at all. I don't even try to figure out where that comes from. It doesn't interest me. I see you and I hear you with great compassion, very slow movement of that wave. And then you put undeliverable with it, which basically says this boundary, you don't get past her anymore. So what does get through is the intellectual knowing that this person had a great need to connect with you for whatever the reason. That's all you need to know.
So when we had reset my intention and my shield the other day, the automatic, that was just a couple days ago. I don't think I've dreamed of them in the last couple days, but is it possible that my brain was subliminally telling me in my dreams that they haven't let go, even though I kind of tried to? Because I haven't thought about them at all, except for in the mornings, I find myself remembering a lot, like, oh my God, did I just dream about them? Because I'm almost positive I did. So maybe my shield is going to make her feel validated and she'll forget me. I'm hoping.
Yeah, all she wants is to be recognized. When you send back a wave message, as long as it's not hostile, as long as it's very gentle and slides on through and hits her heart and goes up to her brain, she feels she's been heard. That's all she wanted. That's all she wanted, was to know that she still has some kind of control, that you heard her. And most people think their most intense thoughts at night when it's dark and quiet and they're lying in their beds and they can't sleep. So the narcissist is one of, I deal with so many clients that have narcissist patterns that they're still trying to release. And once we do this program, it's huge. They release it so much more easily. They can sleep nights, their health improves. They feel healthier. And because they've got more space to deal with their own things. So thank you for that question, Clara. That was really important. Does anybody have a question that goes along with that? Was that pretty clear? We're good? Okay.
I almost wonder if that's why I was having that. Maybe that's one of the reasons I've had such crazy overwhelm. Maybe it hasn't been just my brother. Maybe it's been just that, because I didn't realize she was still breaking my energy shield until you just said that. So, wow.
Yeah.
And that was a crazy overwhelm. It took me 2 months to get away from them. So even being away from them, I didn't realize she could still affect me.
And you see, that's what most people don't understand. I'm really glad you brought that up too. We're going to have to move on. And Claire, we can continue this conversation another
Okay.
time, but because I've only got a limited amount of time left, and I've got a little bit more to tell people.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay. So let me just, what do you need to know about overwhelm that you don't know? Well, you need to identify, number one, whether or not you're a highly sensitive person, 30% of the population, or whether you're one of the other 70% of the population. Everybody feels stuff from other people. The empaths and the HSPs have that extra DNA strand, so they feel so much more. And what is an empath? Most people don't even really know what an empath is, other than the fact, oh yeah, I feel stuff. Well, an empath is a person, because of that extra DNA strand, feels everything from everybody, from their environment, from the weather, from the animals, from the water. They feel everything from everybody. Some of those empaths are able to manage it more easily than others. Some empaths will use it strictly in their careers as health providers or doctors or lawyers or solicitors or social workers or teachers, parents. I mean, anybody who has empath ability has the ability to modulate it, to turn it down. About 30% of the empaths are full on all the time. And they're really suffering, really, really, really suffering. And learning how to manage what they pick up from other people, retrain their brain in a different way, retrain how they reach out to people with those energetic messages wordlessly sent on autopilot. Because once you program your response to the narcissist or to whomever into your brain, it will do that for every person of that kind of energy on autopilot. So you don't even have to do it each and every time, which gives you so much more space. You were sleeping, Clara, and your brain still was protecting you, right? Okay. So we now know what empaths and HSPs really are. They are DNA special. I tend to think that we are more highly evolved than the rest of the people, but that's just me being a little bit pissy and elitist. But I think that because of the worlds that we live in, I think that there are some of us who have had to become more highly attuned to the world. It's generational. We may have grown up in families that go back generations and generations and generations that were traumatized in some way. So basically, I think I've given you a pretty good overview. I've given you some tools to work with that you will remember, and hopefully you will use. I have more notes, but I don't think we've really got time for them. And I may have reached overwhelm for everybody on the call because we only have so much brain power to manage new information. I don't want to send you into overwhelm talking about how to control overwhelm. So I'm just going to give you overwhelm facts briefly, and then we're going to begin to close off this mastermind. Overwhelm facts: 80 to 90%, excuse me, of the overwhelm that you feel is not yours. Check mark. Okay. You own what you feel in your body, especially when you feel it, because you assume that if you feel it, it's yours. X, most of the time it's not. Just because you feel it in your body, it doesn't necessarily mean it's yours. It means that your survival brain is warning you that somebody out there needs to get in. So that body sensation is an alert system. Okay. Next, life experiences, whatever goes on in your life, tones your brain for trauma triggers. And that starts at conception. For most physical people, it also starts generationally in your DNA, which actually recognizes patterns of overwhelm or patterns of need or patterns of illness or patterns of pain or whatever as something that was felt by your ancestors. So you might have a sight or a sound or a smell or a taste that triggers you into a huge feeling of overwhelm, and there's nothing that you can explain about it. There's just no way of explaining it. If that's the case, it could be generational. Now, I've worked with a lot of people, a lot of Black people who actually have slave memories that come up for them when we go through the coaching process. And it's those slave memories that have actually informed their trauma. I had one client who said that when she was facing somebody in authority, and she was a very, very strong woman, but when she was facing somebody in authority at work, it was as if there was an iron band around her neck. and she couldn't talk. She couldn't respond. She would just basically go into freeze. And we talked about that. We did a little bit of a life review, went back, and we called on her ancestors. That's the spiritual side of me, the channeler and whatnot. And what we discovered is that her great grandmother had been a slave, and as a very young slave, she had had an iron band around her neck, and that if she spoke up to protect herself in any way, she would be punished harshly. So DNA-wise, whenever she was faced with an authority figure, she couldn't talk, and she felt that pressure on her neck. She and her grandmother removed the iron band around her neck. It was an amazing session, incredible. She still has some issues with authority figures, but she has a lot less, and she's definitely able to speak up for herself. One of the reasons is that because she said, can you see my mug? I said yes. I said yes to taking back my life from all of those energies that crowd in on me. I said yes to take it back. And you have to say yes before you can do anything else. Because if you're fighting your no, I can't do this, you're never going to get anywhere. You have to say yes. All right. So life experiences tone your brain for trauma triggers, and the survival brain is your library. It's your archive of everything that has gone on in your life, and on the DNA memories that have also been programmed into your body as responses. Okay, now let me see what else. We talked about trauma being born into your body. We've talked about generational trauma. Okay, we've talked about all that. Okay, we've talked about most of this stuff. I've got lots more notes. You got your exercises. There are 3 modalities that anybody looking for trauma training could be looking at. All right. Number 1, there's always talk therapy. Talk therapy is one of the oldest and tried and true methods for dealing with people's trauma. However, what they've been discovering in the past 15 years or so is that sometimes if we talk too much about trauma, it actually creates new trauma memories, and new trauma responses. So going back in and replaying the old trauma over and over and over again, trying to make sense of it, trying to take it apart, trying to make peace with it, for some people is detrimental. So if you haven't found talk therapy to be good for you, if you have, fantastic, keep doing it. But if you haven't, find another source of help. Coaching, which is, I'm a life coach. Coaching is where a person brings a situation together. We strategize it. We look for a way to manage it and to work our way through it. And the goal is to basically get that situation gone. So life coaching with the right life coach might be one solution. Somatics. Somatics is something that I include in my life coaching, which is that felt sense. I teach you how to use your body sense to protect yourself and program your brain against all of these incursions from other people's energies. It's also a great way of desensitizing trauma triggers. Somatics is all about the felt sense. You've skin on skin, you're using your eyes because your eyes are connected to your vagal nervous system to basically deregulate trauma responses, trauma triggers. Breathing exercises deregulate trauma triggers as well. They change up the oxygen in your body, but they also basically stop the thought in its place because you put another thought in its place. Deflection is actually a good way of explaining somatics, where we're talking about things like eye movements, breathing exercises, felt sense, hugging yourself, tapping yourself. All of those are somatics, and they work. They work. It depends on how you want to use it. All right. So my training, so we're talking about talk therapy, coaching, and somatics, and brain retraining. So my trainings when I'm working with people include life coaching, survival brain retraining. Some people call it shielding. We talked about that before, and all the science and a little bit of spirituality, so that anything that's needed to help bridge that gap between spiritual shielding and grounding and your body's natural brain shielding and electrical grounding. Your brain work is a much shorter learning curve because it's already embedded in your body. It's already in your brain. All you have to do is remember the body talk manual that explains it all, and then reprogram using your brain as a partner to give yourself more space and to heal so that you become a more whole and complete and healthier, happier person. Any questions? Okay, so we are now at the most wonderful part of our mastermind. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to be doing through Sacred You when it comes to brain retraining and calming the overwhelm. If anybody is interested in taking my program, it's basically 9 modules. It runs over 9 weeks. And you learn everything, you learn in depth and all the tools and all the tricks and all that stuff. Everything I've been talking about, one piece at a time, 1 per week. And I'll be offering it through Sacred You, be advertised through Sacred You. And it's going to happen possibly the end of June, most likely the beginning of July. And it'll run through the 9 weeks. It takes us into the fall. Perfect setup for the holiday season and for getting back into the buzz of non-summer in the North American, in the Northern Hemisphere. And I don't know what's going on in Australia at that time, but I know we're getting into Christmas and a change of seasons there too. So that will be offered. And as a gift for everybody that is on this call, who is registered for this call, you'll be receiving a 45-minute webinar. It's a YouTube webinar that I created. PTSD victims, erase your trauma triggers. It's a 45-minute webinar and it's free. And secondly, if you want to talk to me in person, the best way to talk to me is to connect with me through my website. And you'll be given a 60-minute free discovery call where you get to talk all about you and where you're at, what you want, and we're going to strategize how to get you there. And you'll get a written blueprint, an MP3 recording, audio, and it's free. And you get me, more of me. Okay, now I'm going to turn it over to, first of all, I would like to thank everybody who is here. Everybody who brought questions. Oh, Clara has a question. Go ahead, Clara.
I just wanted to ask, I'm sorry I'm so late in this. Is there any way I can catch a replay on this, since I missed all the good stuff at the beginning of this episode right here?
I can see Sophia is smiling. Sophia, I think you need to answer that one, not me.
Okay.
No problems, and thank you, Sue. And I just want to thank you, and I will get to your question in a sec, Clara, but I just really want to thank Sue from the bottom of my heart for presenting this wonderful masterclass on overcoming overwhelm, which a lot of us experience so very, very, very much. So thank you, Sue. And in order to answer your question, Clara, all the recordings, not just the recording for this masterclass, but we're actually launching Sacred You, and we have 15 events. We've got 11 masterclasses and 4 panel discussions that Sue have won recently. And you get the recordings for that as a bonus for taking fast action if you would like to join us. To join Sacred You for just $1 Australian today, clicking on the links that I put in the comments, because you will get access. Let me tell you a little bit very, very quickly about the benefits of joining Sacred You, because one of the biggest benefits is Sue runs the Life Force Activators Tribe. And Sue, do you want to tell us a little bit about the Life Force Activators Tribe while I screen share?
Sure thing. Life Force Activators we call them tribes. There are, I don't know how many tribes have we got now in Sacred You, close to 30, I think.
Yes.
Something like that. All kinds of interest groups. Other people would call them interest groups, okay? We call them tribes and tribe hosts. I'm a tribe host of Life Force Activators. The Life Force Activators is really all about finding that vibrant spark in our lives that makes us feel whole and complete and connected. And our sessions are all different. Sometimes they're on spiritual topics, sometimes they're on more topics like this. But it's all about bringing together people who are totally excited about wanting to take back their lives and become glowing. People that just wake up excited about life. And if you have a down day, it's okay. We all have down days. But the concept is, if you want to explore all many different types of topics, not just one. A lot of our topics are driven by the members. I say, can we talk about this? And which absolutely. We've talked about astral travel. We've talked about mantras. We talked about affirmations. We've talked about how to create energy balls, literally energy balls, and toss them back and forth to each other, playing with them. It's kind of like a general store of feel-good stuff that we explore for an hour or so once every 2 weeks, every second Tuesday. And it's got some great people in it. Trina's in it. Hey, Trina, she's in it. She just went, yeah, that's me. I'm in it. And a whole bunch of other people that are just so interesting to talk to. They come up with such thoughts that you would never really expect them to share. And yet they totally spark us to think in a different way. I don't know if I could probably talk more, but I don't think I should. I'm done.
Oh, thank you, Sue. Thank you. So Clara, that's part of what you get for the membership for our sacred community, where we just bring you together. It's really a global community where we just bring together heart-centered, like-minded people from all over the world who want to empower themselves, empower each other, to connect, to fulfill our need of connection. We really offer lots of opportunities for connection. So these are just some of our tribes. We've got tune-ups for body, mind, and spirit, sounds of the soul, your inner oracle, becoming your own best friend, empowering you, path to self-esteem, the child within. Well, I said we've got almost 30 tribes. Sue's tribe is here. And that's all part of our membership, where you can join us. I said for today, just for $1 Australian, you get 3 weeks trial. 3 weeks trial, and then after that, it's only $15 Australian a month. But that is before we launch on the 19th of May or the 20th of May. If you're in the Southern Hemisphere, the price will be going up to $20 Australian, and the 3 weeks will come down to 2 weeks. And that's Sue's tribe there. We've got all sorts of other tribes. I have put the link in the chat box, I hope. If not, I will. But and that's it. And for anyone who does join today, you will get all the links from all our masterclasses, which I'll show you very, very quickly. Again, forgot to show you that one. You get all the recordings. Tomorrow we've got shame. Why is it there? How do I make it go away? We've got an alchemist. How to be an alchemist and embrace all the rainbow colors in life. Exploring a hero's journey is a panel discussion. Really recommend that one. Path to freedom. All these masterclasses, you will be able to get all the recordings for as a bonus for signing up today. These are the ones that we had. Sue was the host, the facilitator of how your own life force energy broadcasts out to the world. You will also get the recording of that as well.
You know,
So that's
Clara, I think that as far as budget goes, that $1 for 3 weeks, and you get access to everything, not just the master classes or the panels or the replays, everything. You can even pop into live meetings anywhere, anytime with that, and just try them out. They're fun. They're really fun.
I see the link right here in our chat, how to do it. Will I have access to this after we're done talking? Because I don't want to lose you guys and I want to pay attention right now.
okay. Save the recording. Not save the recording, save the chat. If
How
you
do I do that?
So you go in the chat box and you should have 3 little dots. I hope you've got 3 little dots, even though I can't see the 3 little dots. Yes, you can. Save chat. There's 3 little dots. If you click on that, and you'll save the chat.
Okay, so Clara, go right to the bottom of the chat menu, where the chat is, right at the very bottom. You'll see a smiley face, and then beside it there are 3 little dots to the right. Click on those 3 little dots where it says more. Click on those and it says save chat.
Yeah.
So just save chat, and it will save it somewhere on your phone.
I don't see save chat. It shows me a bunch of emojis.
No, next.
Move over. There are 3 little horizontal dots.
Okay. So do you see where the chat box is, Clara?
Yes.
Okay, if you click on the, if you open up the chat, then yes, then down the bottom where the emoji is, there's 3 little dots.
Okay, I think I got
Here
it.
it says to the smiley. It's to the right of the smiley. 3 little dots. Click, and it's got option to save chat.
Next to the smiley. I see text editing,
Okay,
emoji.
we'll be able to help you in a second too. What I'm going to do is, Sue, before we wrap up, do you have any final words? And then we'll stop the live and stop the recording.
Okay. Yeah, I do actually. If anybody is suffering from overwhelm, anybody at all is suffering from overwhelm in any way, okay? Overwhelm means that you're basically being triggered into fight, flight, or freeze. Overwhelm for most people ends up being the freeze, which means you shut down for days and days and days, and you simply don't know how to get out of it. It becomes a pattern. Once you start, you keep going back there over and over and over again. You lose a lot of your life. So basically, if that is you, if you want to take back your life, you want to control it, you want to have a healthier, get rid of some of those chronic pains, chronic illnesses, and you're curious about how you can do that, you can visit my website, which is on www.overwhelmmasterclasses.com. It's real easy, overwhelmmasterclasses.com. There's also a link that takes you directly to, that's actually where you would go. That's the first place, because there's all kinds of free resources offered there as well. And there's also another program that I've set up in beta that's testing for the technology that's going to deliver the other program that I'm delivering through, the Calm the Overwhelm program that I'm delivering through Sacred You at the beginning of the summer. So you can check that out and see everything that's on there, everything that you would get with the program, either in beta or in the summer, over the summer, when all of the technology is tested and tried and true. Okay.
All right. Thank you very, very much, Sue. And again, for everyone who is watching live or the replay, this replay will go down within the next 24 hours. So do click on the links if you'd like to connect more with Sue, if you'd like to join her Life Force Activators tribe, plus all of our other about 26 tribes. You don't have to join them all, of course. You can just join 1 or 2 or 3, however many you want. And if you'd like a recording of all our 15 events, do click on those links and take action today before this recording goes down. And thank you everyone for joining us. And right now I'll just stop all the recordings. Stop that.